Okay, we're going to look at lab exercise number 9 and start with part 2 of this lab, which basically is going through the steps to attach a Windows iSCSI host on a Clarion. I have an iSCSI system here, and actually I have 3 arrays here. I'm going to choose CX4240, and I'm going to go ahead and look at the port management under this. And basically, port management is going to give me the types of ports that it sees out there in its physical location. So I'm interested in the iSCSI ports, and I can see I have some mirror view ports set up for iSCSI, but I'm interested in the data ports themselves, and I can see that in this example I have a logical port A2 on SPA is already configured and has an IP address of 10.241.217.176 along with its IQN name, and its peer SP data port is down here as well at B2. So I have A2 in B2, and these are already set up. I can go to properties of that and validate the IQN name of the port itself, and I can see it uses the standard IQN name with the Clarion name here as well, 0041, and connected to B2. And I've already applied and set IP addresses, so the IP address, gateway, and subnet mask are already configured here. Now, on a new machine, you would supply those values yourself. So I can say OK to that, and I could do the same thing with SPA and validate that everything is correct here as well. 0041, the last 4 nibbles of the array in the port. So I see that has been configured as well. And then basic connectivity, if I were to ping the peer SP, for example, I could do that here. 177. Try that again. Forgot to click on the start. 177, and we want to start that now here. And just looking at the basic low-level connectivity here. So I see that you have traceroute available as well. So that's my port management, and again, I'm looking for the properties. I'm looking for anything that's set for the data port. These are IPv4 supported only on these data ports. And I'll say OK to that. I can come down to the connectivity status, and I can see that I have the initiator IQN name. It is iSCSI. The port it connects to, SP port, A2 and B2 in this example. However, it's not logged in as yet. We're going to have to go ahead and do that with the server utility. And then registered now, or was registered previously, along with the server name. So I'm basically looking at host connectivity here. I say OK. Now we're going to run the server utility, and typically you want to shut the Navi agent off when you do this. So we're going to take a look at it for now. I'm not sure what the status of the agent is. We'll take a look at it momentarily. But for now, let's go ahead and look at the programs. We're going to start looking at Navisphere server utility. And from the server utility main window, we're going to configure iSCSI connection, since we are using the Microsoft initiator. And say next to that, and take the default of next. Now, the discover targets on the subnet, I would go ahead and supply the correct subnet here. It defaults to the correct subnet. So I could use that and click next, and it would scan the subnet. Or as an option, I could discover the iSCSI targets for this target portal, and I'll just go ahead and do that to show you an example of what that's going to come up with. It's going to come up with basically the same thing. 217, if you recall from the connectivity screen, my SPA IP port was 176. So I'm going to go ahead and click next. It brings up the iSCSI targets window, of which I see several target IP addresses on the same subnet. And I'm interested in the 76 and the 177 because that's what was on the array that I want to configure, and here they are here. And note they're inactive. So to make these active, to make a connection, we need to make sure that we have a connection from the initiator or through the server utility. So there are some login options. You should leave that checked. That is the default, along with the default for the server network adapter IP. And then go ahead and log in. Now, you note here, because I had the checkbox checked, both IPs have logged in here on their respective SPs. So I'm view connected at this moment. I'm going to say next. And then the screen shows me the IQN of the initiator, and the array. We saw that on the IQN itself when we looked at the port, along with the ports A2, B2, and the IP address. And of course, note up top here the utility. I'm not going to be able to continue the utility because the Navisphere host agent is installed or currently running. So we could have turned it off initially. I just wanted to see that message in this example. So we're going to go back, and I'm going to go into shut this window. Just move the window a bit, and I'll go ahead in and bring up the manage and services, and come in and right click and go ahead and stop that Navi agent. Just minimize him for now. Go back to my server utility, go to next again and let it scan for devices. And since the utility was running, I'm going to have to start that again because of the agent file. So I'm going to do that now. Configure all that out. I'll show you another example here where I could actually discover these subnets here as well. So the probe basically gives you the same screen you saw before, a lot of inactive connections, inactive, and we come all the way down, and of course we find the connected ones we had before. And we see we're connected in that regard, so we're going to go ahead and do this again. And you see that since I backed out of the utility and restarted, I get the same information in terms of IQNs for the initiator. There's another array out here. We look like we have some initiators connected there via fiber, or some initiators at some point, but the array we're looking at is the 4.1. And now I can say next and finish this utility up. Now to verify that the connectivity is in fact there, I can go ahead and look at my connectivity screen, and I see the initiator for the server SVT54 is in fact logged in and registered, so I should be set to go there. I'm just going to say OK to that. So we have connectivity via the host to the Clarion, and we have two SCSI ports there. Part 3 I've already basically showed you, so part 3 is just going around and doing a ping, checking the low-level connectivity. Part 4 of Lab 9 deals with the actual host access, so we're going to go ahead and do that. I'm going to expand the array out and take a look at, you can see I have no storage groups. I can't expand anything here, so I'm going to go ahead and create one. And I'll call it SVT54, and I guess I'll call it iSCSI. And go ahead and apply that. My storage group appears, and I'm going to need a couple LUNs, so I'm going to go ahead and bind a LUN. And you can follow the example in the lab. It has you build a couple LUNs, 500 and 601, so I'll just go ahead and do that. RAID 5 LUN is, I want to call 500 SPB, and give it a value of, say, 5 gig. I'm going to go ahead and apply that. Say say yes to that, and then I'm going to create a RAID 6 LUN, and I'm going to call this 601. B is the default. I'll leave it at that and make this 6 GB. Apply the change there, and I'll say OK. So cancel out of the bind LUNs window. I can see the host hasn't been attached yet, but the LUNs haven't been attached yet. So I basically created the storage group, and then I bound 2 LUNs. So I'm going to have to go ahead and add the LUNs and connect the host. So I'll connect the host first. Go ahead and just select him. I'll find the host that I want to connect and have access to the LUNs. And here it is here. It's SVT54. And I'll apply those changes. Manually registered. Well, my agent isn't up and running at this point, so it's manually registered. And then I can go ahead and select the LUNs. And expand the SPs out. Finally, the LUNs that we wanted to do here, 500 was one, and I believe 601 was the second one, and we'll go ahead and apply those. And they're going to be presented to the host as 0 and 1, so yeah, that's okay. We're going to say OK out of there. And there they are. Now we can go check out and look at the server utility. And go ahead and go through this process again. I can view all the connections here as well. I'll just show you that for momentarily. Because I've already connected, there's no sense in going through the connection screen again. And of course, there they are. I say next, scan the bus. And you can see in this example that both drives, physical drives 4 and 5, have been assigned to the respective Clarion LUNs or array LUNs. So at this point I can say next. And I'll finish that up. And let's try to do an update now. And seeing the update didn't work because I'm going to go ahead and start my agent again. So I'll go start the agent. Do an update on the array. And I'll do an update on the host. And I see the drives appear. And at this point I could actually go into manage and do disk manager and see my drives. We saw earlier they were disk 3 and 4, so 6 GB over the 601 and then 5 GB approximately for the other one. So at this point I could go ahead and partition those, and I'll just take the basic steps and assign some random drive letter. We'll call this iSCSI LUN 601. I'll perform a quick format, and we'll do the same to the second one. Let's take the defaults, and this was iSCSI LUN 500. Quick format on him. Finish that up. And at that point, make sure everything is okay here. I can sort of close him out. I'll go ahead and do an update. and then my drive letters appear to the host. So really what we did in what you saw appears no different than fiber channel. Once you establish the connectivity and you assign the appropriate IP ports, their addresses, gateways, and subnet mask, you bind LUNs and put them in the storage group, same as you would any fiber channel LUN. So the process is basically the same. At this point, I have iSCSI connected to the system. Connectivity status, and there's my connectivity status showing me my initiators, and I'm all set here in terms of presenting those LUNs to the host. So again, basic connectivity, setting up the IP address, and then simply making those available to the server. And that concludes lab exercise number 9.